Between 64 and 67 AD, the Apostle Paul was brought to Rome from Jerusalem. He would eventually be charged, tried, convicted, and sentenced to death by Emperor Nero. And the reason he was charged was because he would not stop pushing the salvation message of Jesus Christ. I had the privilege of going to Rome and going to the places where Paul spent his last days on earth. Santa Maria Vialata. This basilica, now built in the honor of Paul, it was built on top of apartments. They're actually saying that there's 6 rooms underneath this church, which you can access via the entrance. Bible scholars and traditions say that this is where Paul spent his 2 years, according to Acts 28, under house arrest. Because Paul was a Roman citizen, he had the privilege of being under house arrest. It was also said that Luke stayed here with him. After spending 2 years under house arrest, Paul would eventually be tried and convicted and sentenced to Mamertine prison to await his execution. I'll be honest with you, I didn't go to Rome for a spiritual experience. I went for the history. But when I went underground for the first time to where Paul actually spent time in his cell, it was the first time in my adult life, in my life in general, where I felt like the earth swallowed me up. Underneath this grating is where Paul would spend his time. They had temporary lighting, whatever lighting you want to call it, they had it under there, but it was still overwhelmingly dark. Like I said, I'm not a very dramatic person. This isn't something that I just get emotional for anything, but I never felt anything like being under there. And I felt if I would be honest, I felt 2 things. I felt anger and I felt conviction. And I didn't understand what I was feeling, but I just felt like the Holy Spirit was telling me, bro, you're feeling your flesh and you're feeling your spirit. And I'm not even quite sure what that still means, but I'm thankful. San Paulo a Tres Fontaine. This is the location where Paul was brought to after Mamertine prison to be executed. Because Paul was a Roman citizen, he was not allowed by law to be crucified nor tortured. The church you're looking at now, below, as we pan to the left, there's a statue and stairs that lead to a bottom crypt. We went down those stairs, and it is in that bottom crypt that are 2 holding cells. And prisoners that were going to be executed were held in these cells. The cell to the left was Paul's cell. Paul would be in there, hearing other prisoners being executed and just waiting his turn. As Paul made his way up the path, this is the exact location, according to tradition, where Paul was executed and beheaded. In the book of 2 Timothy, Paul writes, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. The Basilica of St. Paul. After Paul was executed, he was brought here to a woman who was a Christian woman. This was her land that she owned. He was not allowed to be buried inside the walls of Rome, so he was buried here. It wouldn't be till years later that they would build a beautiful basilica honoring the sacrifice that Paul made. It is at the foot of the altar of the basilica where you can find Paul's resting place. Underneath some glass, there's limestone. It is said that under this limestone is where Paul's remains are buried. Believe the rumors or not, love them or hate them, but Paul lived it.